And one more sound. Hi. I wanted to start out this program a little bit differently than any other program I've ever done before. This is Lynn Sanders, host of The Difference Makers, sponsored by Difference Makers Media. And we have a very special program for you today, something we've never done before. This is a first. First, because we're just sharing a personal story, but it's a very powerful one, a story of transformation from one of my dearest friends and business colleagues, Roland Takaoka. Roland is host of 2 online shows, Stroke TV, which I'm sure many of you don't even know about, which has over 2,000 followers, and Monday Morning Marketing Smarties. And Roland is the founder and president of MINMAX Media, where you get the minimum, you'll have to correct me, Roland, on this, minimum you need for the maximum impact. But most of all, Roland is sharing this personal story as a favor to me because I have been so inspired by him. I've worked with him and known him for over 2 years. We met through the computer, actually, after a live program, and we got to know each other very well. In fact, it was such a great connection that I personally went to see him and his wife, and I've actually been able to see him 4 times over the last couple of years. So now, without further ado, I wanted to introduce someone very special who I believe can inspire all of you, Roland Takaoka. Roland, take it away. Can you say hello to everyone? Oh, and I forgot, Bill Graham is also here. I'm sorry, Bill. Our wonderful wingman who's coming to monitor all the comments. Roland, would you say hello to our guests?
Hi, everybody, and thank you very much, Lynn, for doing this. And I really appreciate Bill showing up today. It's a pleasure to see you. But I just realized he moved to Canada. We've been talking about it for a while now, and he actually did move to Canada. He's there now, so coming us no longer from Belize. He's no longer Bill from Belize, but Bill from Canada.
So we're glad to have him. So Bill is here so that for people who are new to this program, I would encourage you to type in your comments or questions during this program on the comment tracker, and that comments section of the screen, and that way we can know you're here. You could even just say, hi, I'm here, and with your name, and we'll know you're there. And at any time during the program, if you want to have a question or share your comment, Bill will be here to monitor that for you, and then we can bring them up on the screen. So I want to first start out, thank you, Bill. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. In between the shivers, I will do my best to bring everybody on. And maybe we should start by actually thanking and welcoming the people that are here.
Thank you.
So Aaron is here from Stroke TV. Barbara Quick has joined us live today. And I see Fred Jones is also here from Victoria. So welcome to all of those people, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bill. That's great. We already have an international crowd, right?
Absolutely.
This is great. So I want to start out first by asking Roland to share what he was doing before he became known as an expert webmaster, a video host, a marketing consultant. Many people know Roland for what he does now. We'll get to that. But I'd like to have him share first what he did beforehand, and then what happened to totally change his life. Go ahead.
Well, it all started about 4 decades ago when I was in 8 years of selling shoes. That's a true story, but that's another life. I was a disc jockey for quite a few years, and what happened was, I was playing in live bands. I was doing guitar and vocals and stuff, playing around. Nothing specifically serious, but I was having a lot of fun. And we were pretty good. The bands I was in, I was participating with, were decent, musical projects. But and I never made any real money at it. A few gigs here and there and stuff. But I ventured into DJ-hood and became a DJ for the Black Angus restaurants as a happy hour DJ, and then as a nighttime DJ, and then moved up the ranks, inevitably became an entertainment manager for the Black Angus and Reuben's restaurant chain, both of them, and not at the same time, of course. So I had a vast experience in training DJs, hiring and firing a few of them, and working up training modules for the advancements of DJs from ground zero, if they didn't have any experience, to being a full-fledged nightclub disc jockey. So I had a lot of influence from them, but that led me to believe that I should do my own business. So I formed a mobile DJ business on the side, got all the equipment and so forth, and was doing that for a couple of decades before the stroke. So mainly that, but then about
Let's just pause for a second. So you revealed right away that you had something happen to you, and a stroke. And many people don't know that, who are just working with you, or perhaps they're tuning in for the first time, because I don't usually talk, I would never talk about a person's personal life unless that person wants to talk about it. So you're telling everyone what you did beforehand in your DJ-hood, and also what about your personal, hobbies? Because you did a lot of different activities on your own.
Well, I had my fingers in so many things. I love to build things in wood. I love to build things in metal, but wood was a lot more my style. I built myself a craps table, 7-foot log craps table. I love to work with wood, and I love to play craps. So I figured, well, rather than go to Las Vegas and lose my butt, I would just build a game that I could play with at home and use poker chips and just play the game,
I didn't even know that. And then you told me you played racquetball a lot. You were
I was
regular.
I was almost, I would say, a low B class racquetball player. I played 2 to 3 hours a week, 3 times a week. Wow. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'd go play racquetball. And then also, sorry, traffic. Okay. But also, I was a member of like an informal club of people, and we would have banquets once a year and stuff. There were 20 or 30 of us that get together, and on any given day, you could pick up a racquetball game and play with people who are better and lesser than yourself. And we played a lot. So I was a prolific player. And also I played in a rock band. So
wow,
in my 60s, I was still, or almost 60, I was still playing in a rock band, doing Van Halen and ZZ Top and stuff like that, and singing the high backup vocals. I have since lost the ability to sing that high, but I used to be able to hit some pretty high notes. And so in vocalizing for pop music, you pretty much, that's a very valuable commodity to have a higher voice.
So tell us, when did everything change? What happened?
I should have saw the writing on the wall earlier. In 2006, I had a stroke and kind of took me out a bit, but I came back. 2008, I had another stroke, kind of took me out, but I came back. I remember in 2008 when I had my stroke, I tried going back into racquetball. I went into the court for the first time. This was after a month or so, or maybe it was more like 2 or 3 months. And I bounced the ball with my left hand, and then I picked up the racket with my right hand, and I just bounced the ball, and I tried to swat it with my racket, and I missed the ball completely. So, I mean, you talk about coordination going totally haywire. It was obvious that there was enough of a physical defect that I was going to have to really recondition my entire body. And so from there, I came back to full on to be able to run around the court, and people would look at me and say, "My God, Roland, was that you just running from the back of the court to the front of the court?" It was like, I guess so. I got better and better, and so physically I was able to do more. And when I had my third stroke, I was literally on the edge of B class, which is a pretty good player, and people were not ashamed of being my partner for the most part. So I wasn't really.
When was that third stroke? When did you have
2012. It was.
What happened?
Oh, Well, to be perfectly candid about the whole thing, I woke up. Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. This happens to me
Sure.
because of so rude. But anyway,
It's okay.
I woke up one morning and I realized that I had to go to the bathroom, and I tried to get up and I couldn't. And so one thing led to another. Several minutes of trying, I realized I got a problem. So I had to wake up my wife, and we progressed from there. But I basically wound up on the floor on my face, unable to get myself standing.
Oh my gosh.
And then I realized, okay, my body has malfunctioned. I had my third stroke, obviously, and now I'm going to have to deal with this. And so the ambulance ride, the guys came, fire department, alarm and sirens, and then they whisked me away and got me to the hospital in time to tell me that it was too late to do some things.
What does that
And I
mean?
thought, well, when you have a stroke, there's a process that they can intercept the stroke, and I can't remember what it's called just offhand, but if they apply this medicine and a certain strategy and technology and treatment, they can reverse a lot of the effects of the stroke. And now it's not universal, but when you have a stroke, there's a very common thing that they try if it's within a certain amount of time. But the funny thing is, by the time they wanted to apply it to me, I knew it was way too late.
Oh,
So
no.
So basically, I thought to myself, here I am in a hospital bed. I've gone this far. I know half my body is unresponsive. I can't pick myself out of the bed. I can't sit up on the side. I can't even balance myself sitting on the side of the bed. So now I've got something significant to recover from, and that was the turning point for me that changed my life, basically, because all that we just talked about went away. I could no longer play guitar or the racquetball or any of these things, use power tools.
Oh
God forbid I use power tools. And
But
so
what were you thinking when you realized that all of a sudden your life was going to radically change? Were you all of a sudden just plummeted into depression? And what went through your mind? I mean, it's like huge wake up or something.
I answer this question coupled with the concept that there may be people watching or listening who have had similar experiences, and I in no way want to be insulting to other people's experiences or what they did or what they thought, how they handled it. And I don't want to imply that I'm any different or better than anyone else or anything. But the one thing that I didn't do was, during the process of all my strokes, and including the 2012 stroke, I never actually hit the deep depression mode. Now, when I was in the hospital, and then I was in a nursing care facility, and then I was in an intensive care or intensive rehab facility for a couple of weeks. And then I just said, I've had enough. I'm going home. I'm tired of these people telling me what they're going to do to me, but they're not talking with me and communicating with me. And I wasn't able to convey to them what I was experiencing. They were just processing me. And I just basically got tired of that. So I said, look, I'm going home. I hadn't seen my cat or my family or, my own house for almost 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in the intensive care and the intensive recovery in the hospital for 5 weeks. That's kind of like unheard of. Usually you're in intensive care and the recovery from intensive care for maybe 2 weeks, and then they shuffle you out to something. And because of insurance things and because of all this different things, they didn't know what to do with me. So I was in the hospital for 5 weeks before I ended up in a nursing facility. And, but I didn't get to see the home. So you talk about coming to an absolute halt. All my business stuff, I was deep in web design there, because in 1984 4 or 5, I started designing websites, and I was deep into that. So that's how I got into web design. But all that went away. You know, I got my computer and they brought it down to the hospital facility, and I was able to type a few things and learn how to watch Netflix again and do various things to entertain myself, because you go into a real deep mode of what the hell, you know, who am I now? What is my life going to do from this point forward? And I didn't know the answers to those things. I didn't know. And, you know, just a little sidestep. Yeah, as you introduced me as the host of Stroke TV, I'm actually a co-host. And the guy that's really in charge of it is Aaron Avila. And I think he's in the audience right now. How you doing, Aaron?
Hey, Aaron. Thank you for joining us.
Just a fan. I appreciate you guys showing up. It's a pleasure to see you out there. But Aaron is also a stroke survivor, and I was forgetting. I'm pulling an Aaron. I'm forgetting what I was going to say before. I just
saying that he's your co-host on Stroke TV.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that I'm not the only host on the show. I just kind of joined him, and I'm supporting Aaron's movement. But all these things are what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like, if I did not experience the stroke, I would still want to help his movement and what he stands for and what he's doing and his message to the people of encouragement and inspiration and stuff, because that's what one of the problems of for all of us in humanity is that we too easily lose hope and don't stick to what we can do.
That's true.
That's probably where I stepped off right there, is that I never actually dropped into a deep depression.
Well, what did you do? You know, you inspire me all the time, and we've known each other for a long time. And when I feel down, I can call you and connect with you, and I just always feel good being around you. So I'm wondering if you have some tips. Do you do affirmations, meditation? What do you do to keep yourself in that positive state?
That's a really, really good question. Let's see if I can answer it succinctly. I tell people after I know them for a while, because I don't want this to be an opening line when I meet people, but I will say, I am the happiest person you know. And it's not just because I try to be the happiest person you know. It's because I'm happy. And one of my favorite taglines or my slogans is expand into joy, because to choose your state of mind is something that people don't realize that they can do. You think you're a victim, you think you're a subject to the people around you, you think that they have control over what you're going to think for the day. But long ago, before I got my attitude of choosing to expand in joy, I realized there was this turning point where I was thinking to myself, based on another slogan from somebody who knows who, don't let someone else determine how you're going to feel for the rest of the day.
Right.
In other words, if someone, tells you a bad story or insults you or says they don't like you for some reason or criticizes you, don't let that affect you for the rest of the day, because that's something you're carrying. Then it's your responsibility. You're carrying it. But suppose that someone does insult you and say something. Well, does that make you a bad person? No, that's just someone's opinion and how they respond to you. And so it's like, okay, well, I wonder why they responded to me like that. That puzzles me. But I'm not going to change what I'm doing because I believe in who I am and what I stand for and so forth. So it's not like I'm a chameleon where I have to please everybody and change colors of what I present just because someone's unhappy around me. No, it's like, maybe you don't really understand my intention here. Let's talk about it. And usually when you get to know somebody, that the problem didn't exist. It just was an impression and a thought that one or the other or both of you had for a time being until you actually got to know each other and realize, oh man, we're okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I really love the fact that you say you expand into joy and you choose happiness, because a lot of people really do live life where they're affected by everyone else's attitudes and words and behavior towards them. It's very easy to get affected. And in fact, what I think is so interesting too about you is people, and we talked about this earlier, when people first see you on the screen, they would have no idea that you had a stroke. So would you just comment on what we talked about earlier before the show began, how people often are even just surprised by, you know, what you are physically, because they don't notice anything when they see you on screen?
I have a theory here. I think that if people are handicapped, so to speak, and they feel handicapped, then they're going to present a handicapped persona to the people they meet. I really don't look at myself like I'm handicapped. I forget. It's kind of like I forget that I'm Asian or Japanese sometimes. I'm just Roland living in America, you know, and that's me. But I don't look at myself like, hey, I'm an Asian American, and there's something, you know, there's something you have to understand because I'm an Asian American. And the same thing with the stroke survivors, like, hey, I'm in a wheelchair, and unless you understand that I'm in a wheelchair, well, I don't want to talk to you. That's you know, that's a misfire there. Go ahead. Let's see what someone's got a comment.
Go ahead, Bill. Would you share what some of the comments are on screen? I'll white box you.
Yeah, this is from Aaron, Stroke TV, from a few minutes ago in the conversation when Roland was talking about Aaron's show. Aaron left a comment. He says, I consider Roland my Stroke TV partner, and I'm proud to call Roland my dear brother.
That's great.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that, man.
Yes, Aaron. And I'm really glad you're doing what you're doing, because, you know, a lot of people in life don't realize that we all make a difference. That's why I named my company Difference Makers Media, to bring awareness that we each make a difference in other people's lives. It's the ripple effect. So Aaron, what you're doing by being the co-host with Roland, whether you realize it or not, is you are affecting many, many lives. You never know with what one word or one thought that you have, or, you know, just anything, any behavior is going to touch someone's life for the better, because they're going to see you as an example and that you're going to be persevering. You know, we all have to go through having faith, belief, and perseverance in our goals, whether we have a stroke or whether we don't, or we have other things happening in our lives. And so my purpose today is to get you inspired by Roland, but also you, Aaron, and everyone listening, to wake you up to the realization that we all make a difference. And that's why we're here. Today's program is not about business tips, and we do that other times, but it's really all about getting you inspired to tap into your potential.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Roland mentioned that I can attest to is your attitude in general. Like Roland, I can tell you that Roland is probably the happiest person that I know. and that's not just a tagline, but I can go back a few months ago when I did a video intro for a friend of ours, and I was cutting out little pieces of video. I could not find a section of video where Roland was not smiling.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I tried when I realized that most people, when you stop a video anywhere, they've got this. Roland always had a very personable smile. And so I think that says a lot to Roland and the kind of person he is, and how he can deal with these types of situations as they come and go.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for sharing that. And anyone listening in the comments stream, feel free to write in your comments, your thoughts. You may know Roland, you may not. Maybe you have some questions you want to ask right at this moment. Feel free. In fact, if you're listening to the replay, you're still able to put in comments and questions after this program, and we will get back to you. That's the beauty of this format. So Roland, the time always goes by so quickly, but I want you to share a few more bits of wisdom, you know, before we conclude, because you and I can talk for an hour and we just blink our eyes and it's gone. You know that. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing some of your tips of how you live life to the fullest. You know, what are some practices that you do currently that you might want to share with us?
that opens up a whole chapter there. But I think probably the one thing that's probably the most predominant in the forefront of my mind is that negative thinking does not serve us. Negative thinking does not serve us. So I don't stay negative because it doesn't help my negative situation, and it doesn't lead me on to the solution. When you think in solutions, you're approaching the positive. You're stepping towards the positive. Even if you're in the fog, even if you're having problems, you're stepping towards the solution, which is a positive thing. So your polarity inside changes, and that changes the influence of the energy that you're putting out into the universe, and therefore that changes the energy that you get in response. But as long as you're dwelling in your negativity, like, oh, I hate this, and I wish that had never happened to me, and oh my God, I'll never live this down. As long as you're thinking those things, you're dwelling in the negative, and your polarity is negative. So that keeps you from being positive, because if you are negative, you cannot be positive. So Bill has a
Bill,
comment from somebody there.
Let's turn to the comment stream.
Yeah, this is from Barbara, and I know Barbara's been a friend and supporter of Roland for a long time. I think she was actually the first guest on his Saturday morning marketing Smarties. But Barbara left a comment. She says, I am amazed by Roland Takaoka, and I am so happy to have him as a friend, a wonderful friend.
Thank you, Barbara.
That's very, very mutual. And, you know, we've mentioned Aaron and we've mentioned Barbara, and almost everybody in this stream I've dealt with at some level other than just casually. And I can say that they all have special stuff. When you get to know any of these people, you find out just really how amazing the individuals are. That includes the two of you in the green room and the people in the audience participation right now. And I have a slogan that I go by. This is from my networking days. No strangers, just future friends. So the idea is, well, you know, let's get to know each other. Sit down and have some coffee, or let's get into a hangout and talk. Exactly. And so often when we make business contacts, we're thinking, what can the person do for me? What can I sell the individual? How do we mesh together? Where do we exchange services? And I'm more interested in, hi, why don't we get to know each other? What's going on in your life? Who are you? I want to know who someone is, because that pretty much dictates where we go from here. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be just a business associate or an exchanger of services. Sometimes that's the way it goes. And the plumber comes in, you don't want to take him to lunch too, but you want him to do a good job. You're going to develop a good relationship with him. I like to take it as far as I can. And I end up being friends with everybody. And that makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm thinking, it sounds like you didn't really have one day that you said, okay, today I have a transformation. It seems like you, correct me if I'm wrong, Roland, you always had that philosophy, or did you change after the first or second or third stroke? Did you always have that philosophy of expanding into joy?
I would imagine that that's part of my personality anyway. But I mean, I've not always been a happy person. I can tell you specific times in my life where I hated people, and you know, for long periods of time, you know, maybe my dad was the first one. And by the way, my dad and I are absolutely fine, and I love him. And he's passed away, but I mean, I still love him. And but I don't know too many people who can say they are on good terms and good relationships with their own fathers. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that that's key. I think that that's finding a balance in yourself where you could actually say, okay, I understand what's happening to me or what did happen to me, and I'm perfectly fine with my father, my own dad. And that lets me let go of all the past stuff. Because at one point in time, I hated his guts. I didn't talk to him for 1.5 years. I left the house saying, I'm leaving, and you can strangle me as I go out the door, but I'm leaving.
But you changed, obviously. So you changed.
What happens is you learn more.
Mm-hmm.
you learn something different, you become a little bit more aware than you were, and that gives you an ability to see things differently, and you change your understanding, and then you change in your intention, and that gives you a different feedback from life. And so I think that that's the main thing, is like I realize what I get is what I'm putting out in the world. So I didn't want someone to change my attitude, so I'm mad and upset and resentful and those things, and then get that back from the universe. So I said, even though we had this encounter that was a tough challenge to go through, I'm going to let that go. It doesn't change the fact that it happened, but I'm going to let that go, because what I want to expand into is my joy.
Wow. So you've
I think I've been
transformed on the
expanding
inside.
into, I've been expanding into joy for a lot of years, and the change is always inside. People think that something on the outside will come along and fix them by injecting something from the outside of themselves into themselves, and it's the one premise that just flat out doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, if there's any key that I would say please steer away from, it's like, stop imagining that the solution is outside yourself, because even if the answer comes from someone speaking elsewhere, then you have to internalize what it is that they bring, and you have to join in that and merge with the solution and be the solution. And that's what I tell everybody. It's like, be the solution, be here now, be present, don't live in the past, don't live in the future, be here now. And that's where all your power is.
Right. The present is a gift to yourself. I heard that a while ago. And well, that was really beautiful, you just shared. And, you know, I had entitled this about the transformational story. It seems like you were always in this, for many years, in this process of growth, as we all hope to be, but you're living it right now. And you're living it so well that if people just see you across the screen, they wouldn't know that you're in a wheelchair. You wouldn't know that you can't move half your body, because you really feel quite active.
Well, I do kind of hide my right arm, and I look
Yeah.
kind of lopsided in the camera, so that's why my profile picture is at a 45-degree angle. But I just got to make fun of the whole thing.
No, you look very artistic when you do that. Like, hey, yeah, you know, hey, guy.
Yeah, I've got an attitude.
You're great. So I just want to, you know, we're going to conclude. There's a lot that Roland can offer anyone. If you're looking for help on your website, if you want to get more exposure or promotion, I can't recommend Roland even more strongly than to let you know, Roland just recently redid my website, differencemakersmedia.com. You could check it out. I'm very proud and excited by it. We're still adding the blog section, and we're going to be adding this new app that Roland's son created, the VCP Events plugin, that would be available for anyone, where you can originate interviews like this from your website, which is very cool. And Roland's providing training on all of this. And then the other site that I want to mention Roland did for me, which was terrific, is my children's book, Dancing with Tex, TEX.com. You could check it out. It's a book that won an award from the Illinois Conservation Foundation and was a bestseller on Amazon. And thanks to Roland, I can have that website up there for people to see and learn about it. So I have a lot of gratitude to you, Roland. And Bill, I have gratitude to you for coming in and stepping in. For everyone listening, I'm so grateful you've taken the time, because I believe that each of us affect each other. And if we spread more positive vibrations and positive energy, and you're going to help more people and ultimately uplift our world. And now I would like to just turn to Roland to ask him one last parting thought of what he'd like people to remember from our conversation. And Bill, I'd like you to also think about what you would like to share. So Roland, let's go to you first. Given us a lot, what are some parting words?
Well, first of all, thank you, Bill, and thank you, Lynn, for joining me in this presentation today. And I don't think I can say it better than when we had our interview with Renee Mullen Masters, and we asked her how to wrap up her video. And her statement was so generic and but it's so all-encompassing. And that was that remember that absolutely anything can happen. But let's take it a step further. If anything can happen, then the missing part of the equation is that you can make anything happen. If anything can happen, and that means that we all can be just as powerful as anybody. If anything can happen, that means we all have this power. And we can all decide to make a difference. We can all decide to improve. We can all decide to expand in joy. And that's what I've decided to do.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Bill, any parting words from you?
Well, not really, other than I would say my experience the last 5 or 6 years is that the cosmos provides what we need, not necessarily what we want, but what we need. And just be open, keep your eyes open, be open to change, be open to different things. I mean, it's brought me from a life in Canada to a life in Belize, back to Canada. And I've learned lots of things from lots of people all the way along that journey. So yeah, just be open and know that the cosmos will provide.
Beautiful. And I'd like to just conclude by saying, you know, belief, you may have heard this saying, belief becomes reality, but you can believe something and make it happen. There's a woman who is a philosopher named Margaret Mead who wrote that never doubt that even a small group of truly committed people can change the world. And that's what happens. So if we all work together to send out our positive vibes and be as joyful as Roland is and as all of us can be, we can make a difference in the world. So with all that, I want to thank you again for listening, and feel free to type in any questions or comments in our comment stream. You're welcome to get in touch with Roland or myself through our websites. Either Roland, would you like to give us your website, which I forgot to mention?
Oh, MINMAXmedia.com, but also where our shows take place, DIY livestreamingshows.com. That's where the Smarties is every week.
Great. And differencemakersmedia.com is my site where you can find me. So thank you all again for listening. Have a terrific day and keep smiling. All the best to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.